It's that time of the year again. What up, YouTube? Ed coming back with my YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame ballot video. Since Mike Baseball Collector started this back in 2018, I have voted every single year since the inception, always voting for 10 channels that I feel are deserving of the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame. Every year, my videos get more and more opinionated, and I talk more about the channels. This year, I think I'm just going to go over the channels that I'm voting for, and one of the key themes of this video is just going to be talking about longevity, which is the number one thing I look for when I'm deciding who I'm voting for. It's just a thing that's very, very important to me. I think it's grossly underrepresented in the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame. In my opinion, there's only about a handful of channels in there that you can legitimately say are old school channels, and those would be AR Falk 77, Tommy Golf 85, Nate Tops 85 401, and you could probably make the argument for Nolan Elite Go 3. Other than that, most of the channels, in my opinion, are not old school channels. And I feel that the era of 2006 to 2012 is just grossly underrepresented. And every year I like to vote for a lot of the channels around that time frame, just to give them recognition to a lot of the newer people who have come in around 2018 and onward, because the community is a lot larger now, and it has expanded greatly within the last couple of years, and there's a lot of people that don't know the history of the community, and they just don't know. They're completely oblivious to it. And last year I voted for several channels that I'm going to be again voting for this year. And I said in that video, I really want to see some new engagement from some of the newer channels on these channels that I'm voting for, some of these old school channels. And I'm going to look in the comments. I'm going to look in the live chats to see if you guys are interacting. And some of you did, but I would say the overwhelming majority did not, which is unfortunate. I know nowadays a lot of people, I feel, in the YouTube community stick more within their circles that they're comfortable with, but I would really recommend people branch out a little bit, get to know some of the glorious history of the YouTube community, and it's really, really awesome. A lot of these channels that I'm going to shout out, people really need to get amongst it. Now, I do want to address a couple things that irritate me a little bit, that I've been hearing on ballot videos, and that I've been hearing just people say in general, that the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame is a good old boys network. I would push back very hard on that, because it's pretty big. There's like over 50 channels that are in this thing, and not everyone probably likes each other. Not everyone is sub to everyone. Not everyone gets along. And, not everyone engages everyone that's in the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame. So the fact that, everyone in there is singing Kumbaya and has a secret handshake, and we have a secret entrance to get into the National, that's just unequivocally not true. Also, the YouTube Sports Card patch, while is very, very cool, it's just a patch. As you can see, there's nothing special about this. It doesn't get you into the National. There's no secret entrance if you flash the patch. You don't get, 20% off sticker price with dealers. You don't get flown in on a chopper if you're going to the Dallas show or Strongsville. Like, there's no special perks with this. It's just a cool patch. A very stylish patch that some have even sewn on a jacket and that they wear on live streams. If you get that reference, God bless you. You're one of the cool ones. But yeah, it's not a real Hall of Fame. It's not real. And And I always tell people, don't take this entire process too seriously. It's really just meant to be fun. And at the end of the day, and I think people get mad about this because I said it last year and I got a boatload of dislikes, but bring them on because engagement is engagement. It's a glorified shout out. At the end of the day, fellas, it is a glorified shout out. Nothing's going to change if you get in. Trust me, I got in and nothing changed. So just have fun with this entire ordeal and discover new channels. That's really my plea. That's why I still participate. That's why I still believe that this is a very good thing for the community. I want people to discover new channels. I want people to learn some history, and I want people to, just discover good people, expand your network. Also, another thing that I hear a lot, and I hear it a lot from the newer channels that started from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and this really annoys me as well, is when I hear people who may not interact with the community as much, they say it's just a group of vintage baseball collectors. That unequivocally is also not true. Not everyone in the Hall of Fame, in the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame, collects vintage cards. Hell, if you look at the history of the YouTube community, vintage cards are the new school. The vintage collector channels, they're the new school. Most of them started in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, right around the pandemic. All the old school channels were football channels. They collected modern football cards. They collected modern cards. They did break-in, modern baseball. They're the only one of the people I'm going to be voting for was actually one of the first people on here doing vintage. Spoiler alert, his name is Jericho941 IMI, Mr. Michael Shane, who I'm going to be voting for. He's been on here 11 years. He was one of the first people on here showing off vintage cards of Johnny Bench and Hank Greenberg. So not a lot of people were doing that back in 2010, 2009, 2011. Again, this is about YouTube specifically. I want to make that distinction because when I say that, I'm going to get bombed with people getting triggered or hitting me up with dislikes. But I'm talking in relative to the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame community. So there's that. Okay. I know I probably already angered a lot of people, but let's get on to the votes. So the first person I'm voted for him for 6 years in a row, 5 years in a row. Amish Dave Archer is my first vote. He has been on here for 13 years. Not 3, 13 years. The next person I am voting for, and not everyone is going to be super long like that. Next person is a guy that I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame either. Vintage Card Curator. He's been doing this for 5 years. Keith has some of the most well-researched videos you will ever watch. PSA Joe Orlando used to quake in his booties when Keith would upload a video. The empirical data that Keith would post about pop reports and about inaccuracies and discrepancies in some of these pop reports was pretty damning and pretty eye-opening. And he put a lot of work into his videos, and every year he kind of just gets glossed over, which does not make sense to me. But Vintage Card Curator Keith, 5 years. The man has paid his dues. So, next, BD Kane 721 Saul. He's been doing this for 12 years. 12 years. He was one of the first people on here. Again, I said this last year. I say it every year I vote for him. He was one of the first people on here to do group breaks for the community at cost, not making a profit, totally free. He used to do Topps Chrome case breaks at cost. Do you know that doesn't happen anymore? That's like a unicorn in the hobby. Every breaker's always looking to make a boatload of money. Saul wasn't like that. He just did it out of the love of the community. He's been doing it for 12 years. He's not going nowhere. Next, Purple GT 22. Steve, again, 12 years doing this. 12 years. And Steve's been the kind of guy where he's had to step away because of life. Life gets in the way, but he's always come back. He's always kept the relationships going. He's always engaged the community, and he's always done his thing. He didn't come in around 2021 and then disappear in 2024 or disappear at the end of 2023. He's been around for 12 stinking years. Next, the Insert Revolution podcast. Now, that channel has only been around for 3 years. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why are you voting for a channel that's only been around 3 years when you're preaching longevity? Well, the two people on the channel are Amish Dave, Steve, and the Broncos 70 and the Broncos 79. Hope I didn't screw his name up. Steve, screwed your username up. You can kick my ass at the next national that you're here. But when you put those two guys together, 13 years and 13 years, you're looking at over 20 plus years. And it's just those two. That's not even counting Vinny. That's not counting Bob Lewis. That's not counting Chair. That's not counting Bobby Burrell. That's not counting a whole bunch of people that they have on the podcast. But they've been around an excruciating long time. And they're not going nowhere. Next, Jericho94Y IMI, who I mentioned in the opening monologue that I'm sure will be well received. He's been around for 11 years. Like I said, he was one of the first people on here to show off vintage baseball cards. Show off Hank Greenberg's, Johnny Bench Super Collector, Hank Greenberg Super Collector. Also, he was one of the first guys to be doing SGC along with Nolan Alico 3 and Brian B-Rolf 6. Next, this guy is a YouTube legend. Squeepa21 Phil, Motown Philly, 16 years. He's still active. He still does bi-weekly videos. 16 years he's been on here. 16 years. Again, I'm really emphasizing it. Some people might think I'm being sarcastic or I'm being obnoxious. But again, this man's been doing his thing for 16 years. That needs to be recognized. That needs to be celebrated. Needs to be celebrated. And my hope is that people watching this video check out these channels and get amongst it. Okay. Next, 5 years. Big Scott 35. 5 years. That's a pretty lengthy time. Next, Because I Am Carlos, 5 years. Now, both Carlos and both Scott, they're on the 5-year threshold. And I think that is long enough to get in. Both of them, they're insanely consistent with their live streams. Carlos is probably the most consistent person, I would say, on this list. Uploading wise, you're always getting a live stream on Friday, and he's always uploading videos, 2 videos a week. Scott's the same way. You're always going to get a video on Sundays. He's been doing Sundays for forever, for a super long time, and you're always going to get his weekly pickups. and he's not going nowhere. So those are the votes. Amish Dave Archer, the Insert Revolution Podcast, the Vintage Card Curator, BD Kane 721, Purple GT 22, Jericho 94, IMY, Because I'm Carlos, Big Scott 35, Caleb's Cards, TTM Autos. Did I forget Caleb? Caleb's Cards, TTM Autos, 9 years. And Squeepa 21, Motown Phil, 16 years. Again, those are my votes. I'm not here to... that's another thing. I usually post my ballot video. I'm usually one of the last ones to post my ballot videos. But this year I wanted to do it a little differently. I wanted to post it earlier. Just because I want people to check out these channels. I want people to get amongst it. And I don't know. It's just... every year I say it. But then every year I go to check whenever these people upload videos, and I don't see people checking them out, so it tends to get a little frustrating. And honestly, my track record on voting in some of these channels is not good. If you go back and you check all my old ballot videos, boy oh boy, my success rate on voting in channels is really bad. It's Kyle Schwarber batting average kind of bad. But I do it every year because I like stating my opinion. I'm never one to shy away from giving it. And every year, I'm guaranteed 10 to 15 dislikes. At least the last couple years. I'm sure this year will be pretty strong crow. But that's all I got for you guys. Again, if you're watching this video, the number one thing I want you to do, other than subbing these channels, is participate. Vote. Make your voice heard. If you create videos here on YouTube, vote for them. That's all I got.